When I left off, I had blocked out a cube to give myself a little more geometry and to give me a nice, tall, thin shape to work with. I am going to tap my spacebar and go to my orthographic views. I will press Shift F to frame in all views, and now I can see exactly what my petal looks like. It does look like a playing card, it still looks like a cube, and to change that, what I want to do is I want to be able to edit maybe just the top part of the cube, or just the bottom part of the cube. In order to do that, I need to be aware of my component selection modes. In Maya, it is very simple to move between selection modes. If I right-click on my object, I will pull up a marking menu. You've seen marking menus before. The hotbox is a marking menu. A marking menu is any menu that occurs where your mouse pointer is positioned. The right-click marking menu for a polygonal object gives me different selection modes through this flywheel, and then it gives me a long pull-down menu with various quick selections. We won't be using these quick selections yet. For the moment, I want to focus on the different selection modes. The first is Object Mode, and Object Mode is the mode we are currently in. When I'm in Object Mode, I can see the wireframe on my selected object is this nice bright green color. That tells me I'm in Object Mode. In Object Mode, I will move the entire object as a whole. When I move into my first selection mode, Edge Mode, you'll see that the wireframe turns this blue color, and now when I hover my mouse over the edges, they turn red. That means that I can select an individual edge. With this edge selected, my tools will apply exclusively to this edge, allowing me to move just this one component. You can see when I move the edge back, I start getting this black oval. That tells me that my object is doing a thing called interlacing, or poking through itself. That's not good. You don't want to see that. In Edge Mode, I can select an individual edge, or by double-clicking, I can select an edge loop. That means that I can take this edge loop and start moving it around, or scaling it, and you can see how that could be very useful. You can also delete edges, but I don't recommend it. That's a very good way to make n-gons. If I take this edge right here and delete it, you can see that now what I've got is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 edged shape. That's an n-gon. It breaks my edge flow and doesn't permit me to edit this area properly. So be really careful with your edges. You don't want to delete them if you can avoid it. If I right-click again, we've seen Object Mode and Edge Mode. The next mode is Vertex Mode. In Vertex Mode, I get these tiny, tiny pink dots. The tiny pink dots are vertices. Vertices occur any place two or more edges come together. So in this case, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 edges flowing into this vertex. Scaling my vertex individually won't do much, but I can move my vertex just like an edge. I can also window select. To window select, I click and drag. When I window select, I can move a bunch of vertices. And now you can start to see how scale will work to perhaps shrink an area and pull it together. And that might help me shape out the top or bottom of my petal. So that is Vertex Mode. One fun thing you should know is that you cannot delete a vertex that has more than 3 edges coming into it. So if I select all these vertices and I press delete, nothing's going to happen because my vertices are considered to be complex. Which is fun. They look really simple, but they are complicated, aren't they? So in Vertex Mode, I will be editing the cross points of all of my edges. The next selection mode is Vertex Face Mode, and I get a lot of panicked emails about Vertex Face Mode because it looks like the model created a whole bunch of little tiny pieces and isn't whole anymore. Don't panic. Vertex Face Mode is designed to show you the faces that are created by your existing vertices. It's not editable, so if I select a vertex here, I can't move it around. In fact, my tool heads have gone away completely because this is not an editing mode. This is a troubleshooting mode, so when you're having trouble with your model, this is a nice way to check and make sure that your faces are where you think they are. So just remember, if you see this kind of broken, flown apart look, it's not a problem with your model, it's a selection mode. You're in Vertex Face Mode, it's just a troubleshooting mode, that's all it's there for. The next selection mode is Face Mode. When I'm in Face Mode, I can select individual faces, and I can delete them if I ever want to put a hole in something. And there are lots of times when I want to poke holes in things. So being able to do that in Face Mode is pretty nice. In Face Mode, I will be editing faces, like so. And the face is comprised of 4 edges and all of these vertices. You'll see that it will also edit the edges to the outside of the face. So what I am in fact editing is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 edges. So Face Mode is serious business. But it's nice for deleting. You can always delete in Face Mode. After that, I've got this multi-mode, and multi-mode drives me batty. But you're probably a lot younger than I am, and you might really like things that drive me batty. So in multi-mode, what you'll see is that as I hover my mouse over individual components, I can select any of them. So I can double-click to select an edge loop here, and then with my Shift key held down, I can also select this vertex and this vertex, and then I can Shift select these faces here and Shift select these faces here. By the way, if you ever get into trouble with selecting, the Control key will allow you to remove from a selection. So Shift to add and Control to remove. So multi-mode drives me batty because I never know what I'm going to be selecting. You're just selecting edges and faces and vertices all willy-nilly. I personally prefer to be specifically selecting edges, specifically selecting vertices, or specifically selecting faces, but everybody works differently and you may find that multi works really well for you. That's totally fine. Give it a shot. See what you like. The last selection mode that I've got is UV, and you'll see that when I hover over UV, I get 2 sub-options. To go back from this menu, I just have to move my mouse back to this dot. This dot is the center where I originally right-clicked, and that'll be my navigation point. Inside of UV selection mode, I can select individual UVs or UV shells. UVs are the two-dimensional map that form this model's two-dimensional surface. I can't edit these in my 3D viewer. These are things that, when we get a little bit more complex, we may start to unfold, but at this point, the big thing you need to know is that if you're in a UV mode, I'll go to UV mode, you'll see that it looks almost identical to Vertex mode. Instead of pink, the vertices are brown. That's because they're UVs. When I click on them, my tool head won't show up because, again, I'm in 3D space and UVs are 2D components. They look like vertices, but one of the fun things with UVs is that UVs can exist in more than one place at a time, whereas vertices really can't. UV shell mode is a way to select a number of UVs at once. The default map for a cube is a single shell, so I will select the whole thing, which is a little awkward. So the UV modes really aren't modeling modes, and we won't be using them much in this class. But it's good for you to know what they look like, and it's good for you to start getting the hang of navigating into and out of these submenus. So to summarize, in object mode, when I select an object, the wireframe is green, and I will move the entire object at once. In edge mode, the wireframe turns blue, and I can single-click to select an individual edge, or double-click to select the edge loop that runs around the model. In vertex mode, I can select a vertex, which will give me the intersection between up to 4 edges. That allows me to move an individual component, but it won't allow me to delete. In face mode, I can select an individual face, or with Shift, multiple faces. Control will remove from my selection, and face mode is a great way for me to delete things and poke holes in my model as needed. Multi-mode will allow me to select edges, vertices, and faces all at the same time, and then we run back to object mode. This is a great opportunity for you to practice with your right-click menu. Again, all you have to do is select your object, then press and hold down your right mouse button and drag to the selection mode you are looking for. I'm going to pause this video here. In the next one, I will start using my component modes to shape my flower petal.